Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Mainly Animals on LRTV. I'm your host Bobby Silcott, and today we've got an interesting show lined up. It's going to be all about pit bulls, pit bull rescue. Some of you may have heard of Pittie Posse, and today we have two representatives here. We have Britt, and we have, interesting today, we normally don't have husband-wife teams. It's great that you guys do this, not only you, obviously husband-wife, but you're doing this project together. So I'm gathering you're both deeply submersed in this. So Britt, Sully, welcome.
Thank you.
We really appreciate. Yeah, we appreciate you coming up today. So maybe before we get started, maybe you could just give a little background on Pittie Posse, yourself, how this whole thing got cranked up.
Well, having a dog rescue was a lifelong dream of mine. I've rescued, honestly, since childhood. My mother and I used to chase stray dogs around New York City in the 1980s. So I've always wanted a dog rescue, but it just felt like it would be so overwhelming, and the model that I had seen was just of people, generally one woman who has a rescue, and it takes everything from her, and there's financial destitution, and it just never felt like a good time to start one. And then on our honeymoon weekend, I looked at him and I said, you know, it would be really cool. It'd be really cool to start a pit bull rescue. And with a little bit of, after a little bit of questions, he said yes. And
on your honeymoon?
On our honeymoon weekend.
On our way.
Yes. Yes, on our way to Bar Harbor. I said this would be a really cool thing to do
And what
together.
year was this approximately?
This was, well, we're coming up on the 6th year, right?
Yeah.
So this was about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said yes. So we started. I've been in rescue for years. I've been working, volunteering with other rescues, mostly in New York City before I moved here, for years. So I really had an idea of what worked and what didn't. And I wanted to build a new way. And I wanted to build a rescue that didn't just work on funneling dogs from South or Midwest to Maine, but really worked on how we interact with dogs and how we show up as responsible dog owners. And really, my background is in education. I have a master's degree in education, so I really wanted to change the way that people think about owning dogs, and specifically the bully breeds.
Mm-hmm. Right, much misunderstood breed.
Much misunderstood.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get into that a lot more. Sully, you're all in on this. She pitched this to you, and
I mean, I grew up with dogs, many dogs. I've always been a huge animal lover, and you know, to work with Britt and help save as many as we can, you know, without killing ourselves, I was down for it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're at about the 500 dog mark.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Right up on
extraordinary.
it.
Yeah.
Mostly bully breeds.
Mostly
bully breeds, but yeah, some odd ones that work their
Occasionally
way
something
in.
happens.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And cats.
We did a
small window
failed
of
kitty
cats.
posse,
Yeah.
a very failed kitty posse mission, which was ended almost immediately. I don't think we adopted any of those cats.
For some reason, it was more trouble than the dogs are. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. So we all know here, we was talking just a minute ago, we're kind of preaching to the choir here, but the bully breeds have gotten such a bad rap through the years. I think it's important for our viewers to know, in the state of Maine, fortunately, it's illegal to have breed-specific laws.
Thankfully.
So we can't, right, very much so. I've been in the animal control world now since 2006, and I've saw really a paradigm shift with pitties. We're getting them in law enforcement now in all different aspects of law enforcement across the country. We were talking about the little rascals and Pittie and the nanny dogs and you know, that type of thing. And it's really unfortunate that it's been sensationalized the way it is, but it's where we're at. That's where we're at. So your organization, a big part of your mission is to change that stigma of the Pittie, the bully breed.
It is definitely to change the stigma, but we're also wary of swinging all the way to the other side. You know, a lot of people will write to us and say, we think everyone should own Pitties, and we say, well, hang on a second, that's not necessarily true. It's a working breed. It's not appropriate for everyone to have, just like a husky, or goodness, like some of the big shepherds.
Right.
You know, we want people to educate themselves around what kind of dog is right for their lifestyle, and really think cautiously before having any of the terrier breeds. It's not just about the Staffordshires or, you know, the American Bull Terriers, but to really think about what kind of environment you have, how much training and exercise are you willing to put in because we don't think that everyone should have a Pittie or a Husky
Right.
or a German Shepherd.
Or at your hooey, right on down.
Oh my!
all the-
I don't think
Completely up the line.
those are the only dogs that actually scare me. The Chihuahuas. They are mean. They are mean. But yeah, to know your breed.
We ask a lot of questions on our applications and through the application process to make sure that people are getting the right fit. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want this dog," but your home might not be right for that dog. And
Right.
we know, I don't know, over the past 4 years how best to match people. So you may want this dog, but it may not be the right choice. And
Yeah.
we're always going to side on what's best for the dog.
Yeah.
Even
and-
if it upsets the person that really
Yeah.
thinks that that's their dog, it
Yeah.
it is the way it is for
Yep.
a reason.
And we build in that everyone who adopts from us needs to be ready to do basic obedience with their local positive, force and fear-free trainer. We built in, that they need to have thought out in advance what the enrichment will be like, what the exercise will be like, what the dog-on-dog interaction will be like, because this is a breed that has its specifications as any breed has. But we want people to be aware of what the what the limitations and the benefits are going in, just as you should with any breed that you're researching.
Yeah, very much so. You talk about Huskies. I can recall a case several years ago where an owner came in, wanted to surrender a Husky, and through her tears, she was telling us how the Husky actually chewed a hole through the couch so you could walk right through the couch. And I've had other experiences personally with Huskies. It's interesting how the breeds kind of come out of the womb
Yeah.
with certain characteristics,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So how about the network? Have you guys been able to build a network, say fosters? It must take a lot of resources to do this. So
Yes.
let's talk about your fosters. Probably maybe an
Yeah.
important part of what you're doing.
Our fosters are life and death for us. We don't have a facility yet, so if we take a dog, it's because we have a foster home for it.
Right.
We vet our fosters very carefully. We probably make them jump through more hoops than most rescues do. We provide training. We spent, I think we figured that we spent about $40,000 last year in vetting. I would say we're not too far from that with how much we spent on training. We spend an enormous amount of money for the dogs in our care to be trained with positive trainers. But yeah, we literally could not do this without our foster homes. It takes an enormous amount of resources to have a really responsible, really effective, really successful rescue. And that's something that I'm afraid that often when we hear about new rescues, they haven't really considered what kind of resources you need in place to be able to do right by the dogs and also to be able to do right by the communities in which you're placing those dogs in.
Right, because I can see where they're vital because they're kind of the launching pad. They're the evaluators, and they're going to
Yeah.
give an honest assessment
Yep.
of how what sort of household
Yep.
this dog might fit in.
Yeah.
Best.
They give us a lot of information, and we have to have many of them. We had a transport come up just last week, and we had 10 dogs come in, which is a lot for us. Normally we do smaller. But we have to figure that within a week, 3 to 5 of those dogs are going to turn out to not be a match for their foster homes and need to be moved. So we always need open foster homes so that we can mix and match according to what the dog needs and according to what the family is looking for.
Yeah, and I think we're probably at 60 to 75% of our fosters end up adopting. So that ends up losing a spot.
So your foster
we're-
failure, so
Yeah,
to
speak.
lots of
Really?
foster failure.
How
Yeah.
much, 65 to 70%?
Yeah,
A
it's
lot.
high. It's high. There's some people
they
that
just can't give 'em up.
just want to
Yeah.
foster, and that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's great that people want to adopt, but it's a constant. We have to keep funneling fosters
Yes.
in, and they
Getting
are our
new ones.
lifeblood. They're the lifeblood of these dogs that need homes. Really.
Yeah.
So if someone's out there, they're thinking, wow, I'd love to foster a Pittie. How do they do that? How do they get plugged into
So they can go to our website at pittieposse.com.
PittiePosse.com?
PittiePosse.com. We do have a couple of policies that folks should check out before they submit an application. We don't adopt to or foster to folks with children under 5 in the home. We've just found that our dogs, if you have, a kid under 5, that's generally your main focus, and those are not folks who often have a lot of bandwidth for training or enrichment or exercise. And all pets in the home have to be up to date on required vaccines and fixed, and be in the state of Maine, obviously. Yeah.
So PittiePosse.com.
Yep.
Check it out. It's not only fostering. You guys, there must be other
Yeah.
needs of the
Yeah,
organization?
volunteers, always.
Yeah,
We always need
volunteers.
folks, yeah, to help with fundraising. Always adopters. We always are looking for more positive and fear and force-free trainers, always. We basically find some and then help to completely fill up their business, and then we need more.
Not to mention our pet food pantry.
Our pet food pantry, yep, we started a pet food pantry a few years ago, and we have, I think we have 4 locations now in Maine that we distribute pet food to folks in need, again, because we believe that a dog or an animal that's loved in their home, it's best for them to stay in their home, even if the family needs assistance in keeping them.
Right.
So we provide dog and cat food in several different locations. So we're always looking for folks, particularly to contribute cat food, which we're always running out of.
Always, yeah. Now,
Yeah.
are you folks, are you plugged into Hannaford at all? Where
We do Hannaford. A couple of them have bins for us. Loyal Companion has been, we get most of our dog
Yeah,
food
they're
donations from
awesome.
Loyal Companion. They are amazing. But I
the
think
company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So the stores will call us and tell us they have a bunch of stuff that's either got short shelf life or that people have donated, and we have volunteers who go by and get that. But they usually have more dog food than cat food, so we're always running low. And more people in Maine who need assistance have cats and tend to have many cats, so we're always running low on cat food.
Yeah, it seems though through the years I've seen a little bit of a shift in the thinking of owner retention. You know, it wasn't that long ago if somebody surrendered a dog, well, they came to the shelter and they surrendered the dog and away they went. Now there's more of a conversation with these folks to find
Yeah.
out. You talk a little bit about that if you want.
One of the things on the surrender form is, what would it take for you to keep this dog in your home? Is it training? Is it vetting? Is it food? Because we can help with that, and a lot of times we do, because as Britt just mentioned, we'd much rather have a dog in a loving home than take it in and try to find another home for it.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they're at peace, where their people are. So
Right.
if we can help keep that, animal in the home, we're all about that.
Yeah.
So we paid for training, we paid for vetting. One of the problems is that most of the people who are trying to surrender a dog, there's a behavior issue that means that we cannot take it and immediately put it safely in a foster home.
Sure.
So we require now owner surrenders to go through an evaluation with one of our trainers to make sure that this is a dog that we can take and this is a dog that is safe to put with our trusted fosters. And a lot of folks either can't get to a trainer or don't want to go through the process, and that's really frustrating for us because, it's not like the Humane Society where you can drop the dog off and there's a pen waiting for it. We have to make sure that we're respecting the homes of our foster families. And to that end, we will send in trainers if they're in places where they can access our trainers and try to help them keep that dog in the home where obviously the dog is best off, and comfortable versus pulling it out and rotating it through foster homes, et cetera.
Right. I've had first-hand experience, and it's not only Pitties, most dogs, when they're surrendered for whatever reason it is, when they get into the shelter environment, it's the noises, the sounds, the smells,
Yeah.
their senses are overwhelmed. And it's just somewhat heartbreaking. Their
Yeah.
tail goes between their legs, and
Yeah.
they cower in the corners. And my experience has been the majority, if not all shelters in Maine, are no-kill, very low-kill shelters. They're really, things have changed so much over the years. But that doesn't change the fact that a dog that goes into that environment isn't the best environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
They
think
don't show
shelters are
well.
recognizing that a
Yeah.
lot too. They have incredible foster programs.
Yes.
It's amazing how that's built. So owner retention is a big part of your
and-
mission.
Yeah, and
It
originally we thought, oh, let's have a facility, let's have a place for these dogs to come into. But after learning more, reading more, it just makes sense not to have a bunch of dogs crammed into small pens, with lots of noise and stimulation. A lot of them deteriorate. They go from being friendly, kind dogs to just not wanting to interact with people or becoming aggressive. And then we were like, the foster base is really the way to go. Have them in a loving home, not in a kennel situation.
That being said, we are still very eagerly planning
Yes.
to buy land or get land donated and create a sanctuary. We have a really wide vision for plans for the future, and we'd love to create, tiny homes to put dogs in. It's also very near and dear to my heart to work with domestic violence victims who often stay in unsafe conditions because shelters don't usually allow them to take their pets, and they know that if they leave their pets behind, their pets could fall victim. So we'd one day like to have land where we can start a sanctuary to allow domestic violence victims to bring their children and pets, create jobs for areas, and work with dogs on, some of our dogs who need a longer period of time, longer training, really have a place for them to decompress and get some training before they even go into a community. That's a really big dream of ours.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly if you've got a dog, you really don't know their history. Happens a lot. I think across the board with all different breeds. A lot of the dogs, down south is entirely different environment than is up here. And if they come from down there, you bring them up here. It takes months for them, as you're saying, to decompress, let them understand that they're being loved and the attention and all of their needs are going to be met. And that's quite a shift for them because they're just terrified, huh?
It is. And that would enable us to also put them through basic obedience training while they're with us so that we're turning out more breed ambassadors into the community. We're adopting dogs that have already gone through basic obedience and are really, ambassadors for their breed the way that these dogs can be.
How about veterinarian care? That must be one of the bigger expenses of
It
the
is.
organization.
We work with, so our medical coordinator is a vet tech, and she works for Westside Animal Hospital in Cumberland, and they are amazing. They see most of our dogs. Obviously, vet care is a huge expense, but we're also really happy to be able to prioritize that and support our vet and have our vet support us. So we have a number of vets that we work with who do give us rescue discounts and work with us very closely, but it's very important to us to have really high caliber vet care for our dogs.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because some of them require a lot of extra care.
Right.
Yeah, anyone who is following Winnie, we now call her our $10,000 dog. Winnie,
It's more like 15,000 probably.
our $15,000 dog. Yeah, we've had several dogs that needed a lot of care, or even just, we have a bunch of puppies that are coming up from the south that were just, I don't know what they're doing down there, but they were hairless and covered in sores. We're talking 3-month-old puppies that are going to need extra vetting. So vetting is something vetting and training we really splurge on, and we're very serious about doing as well as we possibly can.
I can only imagine, really. I'm familiar with Westside Cumberland. Cumberland's one of the towns that I cover as an animal
neat.
control officer.
We love Westside.
Yeah, they do some good work over there. Yeah, that's great. So do you have other ones around?
Yeah, we use
MVMC a lot
NVMC
in
we
Scarborough.
use.
They're amazing.
Oh, yeah, yep, they're great. Brackett Street in Portland.
Tender Touch in
Tender
Scarborough.
Touch in Scarborough is amazing. All of these vet offices have been over backwards to support us, and we're so grateful to them.
Yeah, and it's worth, I think it's worth giving them a small plug because
Oh, absolutely.
Most definitely.
all of this is behind the scenes. People don't know that they're doing this.
Yeah.
And without their care and empathy, where would you be?
Yeah, and they've had a really tough time since the pandemic, and they have just continued to bend over backwards and really show that what they're there to do is support the animals, and
Yeah.
we have a lot of respect for them.
Right. And speaking of the pandemic, did you guys notice a big change one way or the other as that started?
Yeah.
Everyone got dogs.
Yeah,
And-
it was a
Yeah.
puppy boom.
It was a
Everybody
puppy
wanted
boom.
a puppy. Everybody, because they're all home.
Yep.
We have free time. Let's get a puppy. And
Yeah.
so,
We
our
couldn't
apps
keep
went through the
dogs.
roof.
Yeah, we couldn't keep dogs. The assistance that was requested went through the roof. We had a lot of different food pantry distributions, and people really needed assistance.
That was one of the effects of the pandemic.
That
People
was
not
one of the-
working.
Yep.
Food pantries, the need for those really
Yep.
for humans and I would imagine for pets as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting results that we're seeing of this, which is a little bit alarming, is that now all these folks, now our vets are completely overwhelmed. Our dog trainers, most of our dog trainers are booking 4 and 5 weeks out. So we're really, we're a little bit nervous about the taxing on the system when our vets are so overwhelmed and exhausted and have been going double time since this all started. You can't find a trainer, and we only use a very select group who we know are fear and force free. So I think it has created a really huge burden on animal care in Maine as a whole.
Now that we're getting this side of the pandemic, you're finding more surrenders, more.
Yeah,
what's the
more
impact?
behavior issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want to stereotype people because I believe most people are good people. Although some people do get over their head and then suddenly they figure, well, I really don't
Yeah.
want this dog around anymore.
Yep.
And now,
You know, behaviors that were cute as a puppy when they're 80 pounds can become dangerous.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they're not reaching out to us till after a bite has happened.
Right.
And at that point, we can't trust
Right.
you know, that animal to go into a home unless we have a really experienced foster that knows, you know, the whole history and is willing to accept that risk.
And a trainer who will work
And
with them.
and a trainer to work with them immediately.
And then the other thing that we're seeing a lot of as people start to go back to work is separation anxiety, which can be really, really difficult to deal with, even for experienced dog owners. So these are dogs that were adopted when everyone was home, and now everyone's leaving all day, and all of a sudden you get
That's when you have a hole through the couch.
through the couch.
Right.
Yes.
Or through a door or a wall.
they will
Yeah.
do whatever it
Yeah.
takes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
understand completely. Yeah, they will injure themselves,
Oh,
can
yeah.
severely at times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lose
Yeah.
teeth and
Yep.
all kinds
Go
of
through
different
windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you know, you being here today and part of the message to the viewers out there to reach out to you folks and, you know, don't just, and I don't want to stereotype people again, things happen, everybody's different, but don't just wake up one morning and take a dog somewhere and leave it.
Yeah.
Try to pre-plan
Yeah.
for that. Help as a rescue, as the shelters, wherever that dog's going to go, reach out to them as soon as possible to try to make it easier for that process to
Yeah.
happen, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
And also reach out when you first see a red flag. When something first happens and you think, gosh, this is alarming or this might be a problem, reach out then, because that's where we can work with folks. And, you know, even people who when we don't wind up taking their dogs, we counsel, we give advice, we connect them with trainers. We can really work with people if we get them those dogs at those first red flags. Once it's become an issue where you want the dog out of your home, you know, then it's an emergency. And
Right.
rescues generally can't work with those types of emergencies because unlike a shelter, it takes us time to find a place to put that dog.
Right.
So people will often message us and say, you know, take this dog today or we're going to put it to sleep. Well, we can't take your dog today. We don't have anywhere to put it. So, you know, that's heartbreaking. So first red flag, reach out and get help because
Right.
that's where it's fixable. Yeah.
there are resources out
So
there.
many.
There's a lot of rescues, a lot of shelters, a lot of food pantries,
Yep.
you know, so many things that can help the average dog owner to keep that dog or, you know, to give that dog the best opportunity that it has.
Yeah, we agree.
Yeah.
We agree. You got to just reach out. I mean, that dog in your home is 100% dependent on you, and nobody's going to do anything for it that would be more than what you're going to do. So it's really your responsibility to do right by that animal.
Right. And what another obstacle I found, not just with the bully breeds, you know, Rottweilers, German Shepherd dogs, boxers. There's a list that are on a lot of insurance companies.
Yep.
And a lot of folks don't realize that until the day something happens, and then suddenly their insurance company says, we're not covering anything
Yeah.
because you didn't disclose to us. So I think it's something, what would you tell folks out there to
Yeah.
be vigilant about that, to check that out prior?
To check it out before you get a dog and find out which companies, you know, State Farm is the one that we always recommend. They do not have breed discrimination. They ask if the dog is a dangerous dog or not, but not what breed it is.
That's
so they're really
extraordinary.
great. They're amazing.
That's rare, I would have
It
to
is.
say, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is rare. They're really a wonderful company, and we use them a lot and recommend them a lot because of that. But the other thing is to, you know, do your research before you get a dog. I mean, on our applications to foster and adopt, we want the landlord's number if it's a rental. And also to keep in mind that it is becoming almost impossible for Mainers now to find housing with any dog, never mind one of those breeds.
Right.
With the housing market the way it is, you know, landlords can just say, nope, you can't even have a
They
goldfish.
can
And you know what?
discriminate.
They can,
Right.
and you know what?
Yes.
They'll still have 20 applications for that home because
Right.
no one can find housing.
Right.
So really think about, you know, are you prepared to keep this dog with you when you move, when you have a baby,
Right.
if you have a hardship? Because that's the other thing we're seeing. People, since the beginning of the pandemic, have been coming to us and saying, I love my dog, I want my dog forever, but I have nowhere to live. and I can't find any place that will accept this dog, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, it's really awful.
Yeah, and nothing, I don't want to single out landlords at all because there's so many different scenarios out there. Some landlords do suffer significant damages, and
True.
it kind of, you know, sets their train of thought going forward. You know, understandably,
Yeah.
in some cases that, you know, they had to spend X amount of money to get a place ready to rent out
Yep.
again because of the neglect of
For sure.
the humans. And as you know, the dogs give us much less trouble than the two-legged. They are.
Yeah.
Agree.
Again, I
Usually
don't
more
want to,
stubborn.
Yeah, I don't like the stereotype, but my experience has been that the human beings are the weak link in this thing we call life, and
Yeah.
navigating around them can be an interesting experience, to say the least.
Agree.
Yeah. So as you stand right now, what do you need today? The show will probably be ready in a few weeks. With that in mind, is there something that you're in great need of now?
We always need fosters, but we're also really excited. And if, as Sully said, if anyone has a piece of land that they would love a tax break on and want to donate it, we'd love to talk to folks about that. But we're also always looking for opportunities to work with people in education, to work with people around understanding, you know, child dog safety, dog on dog safety, you know, responsible dog ownership. So we'll also always come and talk to any community about things like this, about dog issues, responsible dog ownership issues. So just places where we can work with people on how to be better dog owners and how to really, you know, have successful relationships with our dogs where they're happy and healthy and a happy, healthy part of the community. That's always really great too.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. There's been times in my career we've dealt with bully breeds that have had particular incidents, and the general public out there, I think, does stereotype. They just do that. And one incident with anything, even, you know, mentioning a bully breed type of dog, it gives all of them a black eye,
It does.
really.
It
You know,
does.
as
And the media
opposed-
really does a number on them too.
Oh, yeah.
If you read a headline that
Yeah.
says, you know, child was bitten by dog, it's probably a lab or a chihuahua or something. But if it's a pit bull, that is right in the,
Or any
the headline.
dog with a big head.
Right.
That will be in the headline.
Right.
Yeah. And my experience has been, I've done, whenever there's a bite, typically it's reported to us, and there's some protocols we have to follow. Typically, most of it's routine. But I've done far more bite reports for Labrador Retrievers than any other breed.
yeah.
Right.
Now, they're maybe the #1 breed out there, but most people would, who's thinking of banning labs?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody. You know,
Yeah.
did they give them a bad name? The little chihui that, you know.
The ankle biter.
Well, they're no different than any other
Yeah.
dog, you know, and they're
Yeah.
tiny, and the world's so big around them.
Yep.
I mean, I've actually done bite reports for beagles,
Oh,
which
yeah, I
surprises
believe
me,
it.
but
I
it
believe
happens.
it.
The right
Yeah.
circumstances, you know, any
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah, well, and when you say the right circumstances, I don't know if you've found this, but in every time someone has come to us with a dog that's bitten, it's been through human error. It's been because people weren't reading the dog signs, because they put the dog, you know, we had a dog that was placed with us, it had 2 toddler bites. Each of the times, the dog had been cornered in a room alone with about 5 toddlers trying to hug it around its neck. Both of the times, it happened once, and then it happened again, and they wanted to put the dog to sleep. And it's so unfair. So we really need to look at, you know, what are our expectations of our dogs? How are we reading their language? How are we keeping them safe? You know, if toddlers kept running into the road, we wouldn't ban cars. We'd do a public education campaign to say, hey, if you live on a road with a toddler, you need a fence. You need to watch your kid. There are all these things. It's not about, we're not going to ban the cars. You know, so we really want people to understand that how you raise your dog and what you subject it to, and how you set your expectations of that dog could mean life or death for that dog. I don't know what the statistics are on dogs who are put down after there's an incident in which the human acted irresponsibly and the dog dies for it.
Yeah. Yeah, potentially. And in the state of Maine now, we have the nuisance dangerous dog law, which it was needed. I feel it is an important tool in animal control and for the safety of the public. There's a lot of different reasons for it, but a lot of folks don't realize this as well. This is another one of those, you know, really rude awakenings. If something happens like that, I'm compelled, animal control officer, we're compelled to issue a summons in some cases because of that. Then it goes to the court. Fortunately, I found in most of the cases that I've done, The court tends to be compassionate to an extent and will listen to the dog owner, and if they're being proactive, doing things. But my point of this is, this can be a life-altering experience when suddenly there's a nuisance, dangerous dog issue at hand. So that's something we really want to avoid as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's up to the owner. You know, I mean, we have a dog who is not friendly to humans, and she never meets humans. She lives on our property. She has a dog gate, she has a child gate to keep her from getting to the front door in case anyone comes unexpected. I've had her for 10 years now. It is my responsibility to make sure that she is safe and the people around her are safe. She gets completely put under anesthesia for any vet visit. She doesn't get to be around people. And she lives very happily that way, but that's my responsibility, and I think that if you have a dog that has any sort of behavior issues, it's your responsibility to get training, and it's your responsibility to make sure that their world is regulated so that they are safe and the humans around them are safe. And that's a non-negotiable.
Right, and it's not uncommon, and it's hard to rationalize this, but I've had many experiences where suddenly an event like this happens, and the owner's like, it's not on me.
Yeah.
I don't know, take the dog, just get rid of it, whatever.
Wow.
That's not the way it works.
No, well, the dog will die, most likely.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah,
But I
because
mean, as far as the
yeah.
human goes, now,
No.
what is their consequences or
Yeah.
their recourse,
Yeah, it's a shame because they don't have any. They can get rid of that dog. They can give it away. I mean, I can't tell you how many dogs we see being bounced on Facebook or Craigslist, and they're dogs with behavior issues. They're not unmanageable dogs, but they're dogs that have not been, assessed by a trainer. They're being bounced from person to person, and it creates a community issue. You have a dog that very well could bite someone or has horrible separation anxiety and is going to be running outside the house every time someone leaves. And, it's not the responsible thing to do. And unfortunately, the trail of humans who failed the dog, they are not going to pay. The dog is going to pay.
Yeah. And then there's this flipper access,
Yes.
component of this. There
Yep.
are it's so irrational. You just can't make sense of how someone can get a free dog off of Craigslist or Facebook or wherever it may be, anywhere on the internet, and their goal, they're only interested in making money off of that animal, and they could care less about that animal, consequences of where it's going.
Yeah,
And,
we had a gremlin. We had a dog on the first year of the rescue. A woman was giving her away for free on Facebook. She was said to be 8 or 10. The woman said she was absolutely a perfect dog, but the woman's son had gone off. I think he was in the military, and he left the dog behind, and she just needed the dog out of the house. So one of our Pittie Posse volunteers went and picked the dog up. Not only was the dog 10 years old, had never seen a vet, had never been spayed, never seen a vet, never been spayed, but this dog has, to this day, the single worst case of separation anxiety we have ever seen. She wound up staying with our Pittie Posse team member. It took 6 months for her to be able to leave the dog in a room, to go to the bathroom by herself. The dog required almost $10,000 worth of vetting because we had to have her spayed, and she wound up to have cysts all over. There was something going on with her ovaries, and
10 years of neglect.
10 years of neglect.
Right.
And this woman was flipping her on Facebook. So someone would have come and gotten her, dumped her the next day because of the separation anxiety, and this dog probably would have died very soon after from the abject medical neglect that she had suffered. And this happens every day. That was just one. We can't act on most of them because we just don't have the room for them.
I understand. And we live in a part of the country, according to the Animal Legal Defense Fund, we have the #1 laws in the country now.
Wow.
For animal welfare. We've been
Wow.
in the top 3 for about 7 or 8 years. A couple of things put us over the top this year. But that doesn't mean that there's not animals out there that aren't getting the care and the protection
Sure.
that they need.
Sure.
We need to be aware of those things.
Yeah.
So maybe we want to encourage folks out there, if you know something like this going on, report it.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with making an anonymous report either.
Yep.
If we don't know about these things happening, there's no way that we can take action to protect them and
Yeah.
maybe prosecute these folks and
Yep.
maybe. Things are changing. I do believe, as hard as it is sometimes, I do believe most people are good people and they want to do the right thing. they
Yeah.
need a little guidance or
Yep.
a little direction or maybe a little food or whatever it is. So
Maine has amazing resources. People need to ask for help, though, or suggest help if they know that an animal is suffering. Say, hey, did you know you can get free or low-cost vetting here, or you can get food here. We need to sort of speak up for each other and, jump in when there's first a problem, not down the line when it's a real problem that is much more difficult to help with.
spaying or neutering is a great example. It's one of the,
Yes.
the things that we're all advocates of. But I can remember when the resources were few and far between for that. Now, Spay Maine is a great resource for folks to go to. Not only it used to be there was low-income spay or neuter programs. Now there's low cost.
Yep.
In
Yeah.
addition to that, because
Yeah,
the
it's
low
amazing.
income was a barrier for some folks. They wanted to do the right thing. They were on that line where they
Yep.
couldn't quite qualify. But if folks go to Spay Maine out there and look
Yes.
at that, they're all over the state. It really
Yes.
is truly amazing
Yeah.
what's available out there.
Yeah, and check it out and then share it. If everyone shares something like Spay Maine, it's going to get to so many more people. A lot of people don't know about that resource, which is, insane given that it's such an amazing, valuable resource.
Right. It is amazing to me, too. Some of these things, I mean, you could ride it in the sky with an airplane, and some people would say, I didn't see it. It's
Yes.
just the way it goes. But you're right. Getting the word out there to folks and letting them know, these resources are available. If you need to, swallow your pride a little bit,
Yeah.
and if that's what
Yeah.
it takes.
Yep.
Don't wait around to, let your children experience the miracle of birth and these types of things. No, get
No.
those animals spayed or neutered.
Yes.
That's a common thing we
Yeah,
hear.
I know.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we want to change that. Let folks out there know that there are resources. Reach
So
out,
many.
even if you call your local shelter
Oh, yeah.
or Pittie Posse or
Yep.
send an email. They'll direct you to where there's
Yeah.
help, or myself, or another animal control officer. We have access to that information,
Absolutely.
and I'll gladly share that. We want to
Yeah.
share that. So.
Tractor Supply for the low-cost vaccine clinics. They're amazing. They're all over the state.
They do those monthly.
They
or
do those
something?
monthly,
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
all over the state.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there anything that we haven't discussed that maybe at the top of your mind that you think we talk about? Something you want folks to know?
Well, one thing that came to mind when we were talking about nuisance animals is off-leash dogs.
Oh my gosh.
We have
Thank you.
so many issues with off-leash dogs, and the quote is, "My dog's friendly," but you know what? A lot of dogs aren't. They don't want to be approached by a strange dog while they're on leash, and you saying your dog is friendly doesn't mean that my dog is friendly. We had issues with one of ours where two dogs came charging out from a backyard down the street from our house, and I was walking her on leash, and the guy's like, no, they're friendly.
They're friendly. Well,
Next
guess
thing you
what?
know, there's a fight there because
Yeah.
he
Ours
couldn't get
isn't.
them to come back.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you don't have your animals on a strict voice control, please don't have them off leash.
Especially in places where it says
In
specifically.
public places, especially.
That's a really big problem for a lot of dog owners. If
Yeah,
you-
they can't bring their dog anywhere because people just
Yep.
ignore the rules and let their dogs run free. And it's not about your dog, it's about the other dogs, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of, I consider, somewhat high profile, Willard Beach.
Yes,
Yes.
Willard. Oh my
It's
gosh.
all over the news. It's all, people are,
Yeah.
I found that as animal owners, we're very passionate
Mm-hmm.
and we're very biased. We all have the best dog in the world,
Yeah.
regardless, right? We do, no matter what, the situation is, we do. And it's not untypical for people to look through their little knothole. And that's the only, they don't have peripheral vision
Right.
to
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
To your point, you're going to a leash-only area. Doesn't matter who the dog can have wing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You need to do that
Yeah.
because it does cause problems. And
It
I think
does.
that area over there in South Portland is a perfect example
yeah.
of that.
We've had so many fosters and adopters tell us that their dog got into a dog fight on that beach. And, in any given situation, when there's a bully dog in a fight, that bully dog is going to get blamed. It doesn't matter if it was 6 dogs on your dog and you have a pit bull, your pit bull's going to get blamed.
Right.
And then the other thing to consider is that not all people are comfortable with dogs. And when you are letting your dog run loose, you're only exacerbating people's issues with dogs. When a dog runs at them off leash, you know your dog is friendly. They don't. That's terrifying to someone who's not comfortable with dogs. So really respecting, staying a couple steps ahead and thinking, how is your dog going to be interpreted by other dogs and by other humans?
Right.
And, if you really need an off-leash area, there are dog parks. There are dog parks. There's cheap fencing. We've put up multiple fences for our dogs, so they had a place to run.
Right.
But just really remembering that, you have a dog that is interacting in a community that might have different ideas as you, and to be respectful about that. And
Yeah.
that really helps with bringing that breed back to ambassadorship. When you have a dog that is really behaving the right way, and you're being a responsible dog owner and making people comfortable around your dog. That's really important.
And my experience has been, I've dealt with many bully breed type dogs, and I find the vast majority of them, their goal is to please their human.
Yes.
Regardless of what it is, if it's good
Yep.
or bad, whatever it may be, if that human's
Yep.
encouraging that,
Yep.
are you finding that with
Oh,
the
absolutely.
bully breeds?
That's one of the things that breaks my heart the most about them, is that any trouble they get into is generally because they want to make their human happy. And to give the most extreme examples, you see the dog fighting dogs, like they will literally fight till they die for their human.
And their tails wagging the whole
and
time.
their tails wagging the whole time.
Yeah.
And the exploitation of their heart and their desire to love their humans, just, it makes me see red. It really does.
You and me both.
Yeah.
It's some of the worst of human behavior there is
Yep.
out there. Yeah, there's a special place for them.
I
for
hope
ourselves.
so. I hope so. I wish I got a window into that, because
Right.
it's not okay.
Right. So we talked about a lot of stuff, some good stuff, some bad stuff. I think we've hit the nail on the head a lot here today
Yeah.
with some reality things. But as you said here today, what would you consider your biggest challenge in the rescue?
Definitely the fosters, and definitely helping people understand that there are so many resources in terms of training and responsible dog ownership, and just to use the experts in Maine, to use the resources.
So in contrast to that, what do you find most rewarding? What really gives you the warm fuzzy in this business?
When we see a dog that was going to die, or when we see a dog that, we have this great story of Gage, who was he was an owner surrender, and these people reached out to us and they messaged the page and they said, can you come and kill our dog, please? And we said, excuse us? And they said, well, he's highly aggressive. He killed a kitten. He attacked my roommate. He's been in a crate for at least 4 months. And we just
my
want someone to
goodness.
come and kill him. And
Yeah.
we called the state police and they wouldn't come and kill him. And so we took a chance and we went and got the dog. The dog had never been to a vet. He had been bounced home to home to home on Facebook. And he had a testicular contortion. He had his inside of his body, his testicles were wrapped together in a way that the vet actually said with a male, with a human, they would be in such excruciating pain, it would be emergency
Well,
room.
no wonder he was upset all the time.
6 years this dog had lived in excruciating pain, and this dog turned out to be the most amazing dog. He was at the Sea Dogs game, featured as the adoptable dog.
Right.
Multiple times. Amazing, amazing, amazing dog. So when we see dogs like that who not only could have died, but were living a life of abject neglect and misery and cruelty, and we see him now with his family and his pictures, or we see a dog that we pulled from a shelter an hour before it was going to be killed in Georgia. And we see that dog just learned to paddleboard. And we see pictures of the dog paddleboarding up to camp in Maine. I mean, that just,
Yeah.
I never get tired of that.
Right.
That is just amazing.
Yeah.
Those are the high points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yourself, anything come to mind? I mean, that's hard to top that right there,
I
but
can't top that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's the before and after that is just, we did that. Our team, our people, we made this dog's life amazing. And
Yeah.
it just doesn't get any better than that. When they had such little chance before we stepped in and said, yes, we've got a home.
Yeah.
We can bring you in and we can you know, take care of your needs.
Yeah. And on that note, we really have to give a shout out. This would be completely impossible without our team.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, Pittie Posse has had a team of volunteers who work. Our core team works full time for free for us, like literally full time, 15 hours a day on, you know, Facebook and, you know, doing meet and greets, and they're all unpaid. And this works because they're there, and they are, you know, we have an adoption crew, a foster crew, a medical crew, training crew,
Social media
applications
crew,
crew, social media crew.
yeah.
It is an entire team of die-hard dog lovers who
Yeah.
make this work. And one of my real dreams is to get a grant writer that will help me get some money to put a couple of people on salary and start paying our people, because they're amazing, and that's something that many rescues don't have
Right.
behind them. I mean, there are probably 15 of them that put in at least 40 hours a week on top of school, on top of work, on top of their family. And that is most of what really works for us.
Folks deserve some credit. I think that
all the credit.
the leadership of, you know, setting examples is, so obviously you folks must be doing something right to get some following like that. So more power to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'd say I can't thank you enough for being here. I am a big advocate of the bully breeds, and I don't think we can ever do enough, at least at this stage where we're at, to help promote the breed and help folks understand, you know, what they're all
Yeah.
about, and help folks do that. So,
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so
Yeah,
much
this-
for inviting us here.
Oh, yeah.
This was amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I want to thank everyone out there for joining us today on Mainly Animals on LRTV. Really hope you got something good out of this show today. Open your hearts, open your minds, and expand your vision on these bully breeds. So until next time, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you then.